On the evening of May 24th, 1990, a young woman named Paige Marie Renkoski was driving home after a long day. The sun was setting over Michigan's countryside as she made her way down I-96 near Lansing. But Paige never made it home. Her car was found abandoned, still idling on the side of the road. Inside were her purse, personal items, but no Paige. Just a ghostly emptiness that would haunt her family, friends, and the entire community for years to come. Imagine the confusion, the panic. One moment, she's on her way back, and the next, she's gone. Disappeared without a trace. Over the next few weeks, a massive search effort ensued. Investigators combed through the area, but there were no signs of Paige. No clues, no evidence, just a car and a mystery. Paige's family was left in an agonizing limbo, unable to understand why their daughter was taken or where she went. What happened to Paige? Was it a random abduction, or something even darker? As the years went by, the hope of finding Paige alive slowly faded. The case went cold, but the pain never truly disappears for her loved ones. They live with the constant question, where is Paige Renkoski? And here's where you come in, because this is not just Paige's story. It's a story that could be your story, anyone's story. Imagine disappearing without a trace and having the world forget your name. That's why we need to keep these cold cases alive, so the truth can come out and justice can be served. If you believe these stories matter, if you believe justice is worth fighting for, hit that like button, subscribe, and join us as we continue to seek answers for those who have been silenced by time. And if there's something holding you back from subscribing, let me know in the comments, because your voice matters in keeping these cold cases in the spotlight. Help us bring justice to Paige Renkoski and countless others who are still waiting for their stories to be told. Victim's life story, Paige Marie Renkoski. Paige Marie Renkoski was more than just a name in a cold case file. She was a daughter, a friend, and a young woman full of life, with dreams and plans that were tragically interrupted. Born on July 12, 1967, in Michigan, Paige was known for her kind heart, infectious laugh, and a personality that could light up any room. She had a warmth about her that made people feel comfortable, like they had known her for years, even if they had just met. Paige was the kind of person who found joy in the small things. Whether it was a quiet afternoon spent reading her favorite books or enjoying a sunny day in the park, she had a simple, grounded outlook on life. She had a close-knit group of friends who often described her as the glue that kept them all together. Paige wasn't the type to seek attention. Rather, she drew people in with her genuine interest in their lives. She was always listening, always caring. Her relationship with her family was incredibly strong. She was particularly close to her mother, with whom she shared a bond that most people could only dream of. They would spend hours chatting, sharing stories, and offering each other support. Her father, too, adored her, and they often went on long drives together, just enjoying each other's company. Paige was that rare person who made everyone feel seen and valued. She had aspirations and plans, just like any young woman her age. Paige had recently been working at a local supermarket and had plans to continue her education. She was focused on carving out a future for herself, one that included traveling, meeting new people, and maybe even starting a family someday. Her life was full of potential, and her future seemed bright. The events leading up to the day she went missing. May 24th, 1990, started out like any other day. Paige had spent time with her friends, laughing and enjoying their usual lighthearted conversations. That evening, she was making her way home from visiting a friend in Lansing, Michigan, a short trip she had taken many times before. She called her mother earlier that day to check in, letting her know she'd be home soon. It was around 9:30 p.m. when Paige called her mother again, telling her she was on the road. That was the last time her mother would ever hear from her. Paige's car was found hours later, abandoned and still running on the side of Interstate 96. Her purse was inside, but there was no sign of Paige. Her personal belongings were left undisturbed, which seemed strange. There were no signs of a struggle or any indication of foul play at first glance. It was as though Paige had simply disappeared into thin air. The police immediately began searching for her, but there were no leads. No witnesses came forward, and no one reported seeing anything unusual that night. In the days that followed, friends, family, and even strangers volunteered to help search for Paige. But despite an exhaustive effort, there was no sign of her. No body, no clues, and no answers. For those who knew her, the disappearance was incomprehensible. Paige wasn't the type to just vanish. She had a strong sense of responsibility and was known for being reliable and trustworthy. Her family couldn't understand how someone could just take her, or why. What made the case even more heart-wrenching was the fact that Paige's mother, father, and friends were left to struggle with the devastating uncertainty of what happened to the young woman they loved so much. No answers, no closure. Just the aching void of not knowing. As the years passed, the case went cold. But for those who loved Paige, the pain never eased. They still carry the hope that someday, someone will come forward with new information, that someone will piece together the puzzle that took Paige away from them, and they will finally have the justice they've been waiting for. By humanizing Paige, we can remember that she was more than just a case. She was someone's daughter, someone's friend, someone with hopes and dreams. This makes her disappearance all the more tragic and underscores why it is so important to keep the search for answers alive. Timeline of the crime. The disappearance of Paige Marie Renkoski. Thursday, May 24th, 1990, the day Paige vanished. It was a warm spring afternoon in Michigan. Paige Marie Renkoski, 30 years old, left her mother's home in Okemos, Michigan, around 11:30 a.m. She told her mother she planned to drive her friend to Detroit Metropolitan Airport, a routine act of kindness that perfectly reflected her caring nature. After dropping her friend off at the airport, Paige began the drive back toward Lansing. It was supposed to be an ordinary day, nothing out of the ordinary, no warnings, no strange encounters that anyone knew of. But as the hours unfolded, something would happen that would turn this ordinary day into one of Michigan's most haunting mysteries. Early afternoon, last confirmed sightings. Sometime between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m., witnesses reported seeing Paige's 1986 silver Oldsmobile Cutlass Calais pulled over on the westbound side of Interstate 96, near Fowlerville, Michigan, roughly halfway between Detroit and Lansing. Several passing drivers later came forward to say they saw Paige standing outside her car, speaking with a man next to a maroon-colored minivan or station wagon. She appeared calm, not distressed or arguing. Some recalled her gesturing with her hands, as if explaining something. Others believe the man may have been offering help or pretending to. No one stopped to intervene. After all, it looked like a normal roadside conversation. Later that afternoon, the abandoned car. At approximately 7:30 p.m., a state trooper noticed a vehicle idling on the shoulder of I-96 near Fowlerville. The car's engine was still running. Paige's purse, shoes, and wallet were found inside, along with an unlit cigarette and her car keys in the ignition. The gear shift was in drive. Paige, however, was gone. There were no signs of a struggle, no broken glass, and no immediate clues to indicate where she had gone or who she might have been with. Her mother was soon notified when Paige failed to return home that evening. May 25th to 27th, 1990, the first search efforts. When police arrived on the scene, they began searching the surrounding area, woods, ditches, and nearby farmland, but found no trace of Paige. Helicopters and search dogs were brought in, but the scent trail went cold quickly, suggesting she may have left the scene in another vehicle. Witnesses were re-interviewed, and investigators tried to piece together the timeline of events. The most credible accounts continued to describe Paige talking to a man in a maroon or burgundy-colored vehicle. Composite sketches were created, and police appealed to the public for leads, but none led to a breakthrough. Following weeks, rumors and false leads. Over the next several weeks, dozens of tips flooded in. Some claimed to have seen Paige in nearby towns. Others reported suspicious vehicles matching the description. Each tip gave her family a moment of hope, but all led to dead ends. Rumors swirled that she might have been abducted by someone pretending to offer roadside help. Investigators considered everything: a random kidnapping, a domestic dispute, or a targeted abduction, but nothing fit neatly. Paige had no known enemies, no risky lifestyle, and no reason to disappear voluntarily. Months later, the case grows cold. Despite media attention and community involvement, no significant progress was made in the case. The car was processed for fingerprints and DNA, but in 1990, forensic technology was still limited. Detectives believed she may have been abducted and murdered, but without a body, they could not confirm it. Leads would come and go over the years, including possible sightings and confessions, but none ever led to Paige. Her mother, artist Renkoski, would go on to advocate tirelessly for her daughter, never giving up hope that someone, somewhere, would finally reveal the truth. Today, more than 3 decades later, more than 30 years later, Paige's disappearance remains one of Michigan's most haunting unsolved cold cases. Modern investigators have reopened the file multiple times, even using advanced forensic technology and ground-penetrating radar in areas of interest. Yet, the mystery endures. To this day, the question lingers on every investigator's mind. What happened to Paige Renkoski after she pulled over on I-96 that afternoon? Was she lured away by someone pretending to help? Or was it someone she already knew? Somewhere in Michigan, someone knows the truth. And after more than 3 decades, Paige's family still waits for the answer. Investigation details: how detectives approached the case. When authorities discovered Paige Renkoski's car idling on the shoulder of Interstate 96 on May 24, 1990, the scene was both puzzling and hauntingly silent. There were no obvious signs of a struggle, yet everything about the discovery felt wrong. The car engine was still running, Paige's purse and shoes were neatly placed inside, and her keys were in the ignition. It was as if she had simply stepped out and vanished. From the beginning, detectives with the Livingston County Sheriff's Department treated the case as suspicious. Paige wasn't the type to disappear on her own. Her family and friends quickly confirmed she had no personal troubles, no enemies, and no reason to walk away from her life. Forensic evidence, a silent crime scene. In 1990, forensic technology was limited. DNA testing was in its infancy, and digital surveillance didn't exist like it does today. Detectives processed the Oldsmobile for fingerprints and other trace evidence, but what they found offered no immediate answers. The interior of the car appeared undisturbed. No signs of a fight, no blood, no damage. Detectives believed Paige had voluntarily stepped out of the vehicle, possibly to speak with someone she knew or trusted. The presence of her purse and shoes suggested she intended to return, which made her disappearance all the more chilling. Witness accounts, the last known moments. Several witnesses became the backbone of the early investigation. They described seeing a tall, light-haired woman, matching Paige's description, standing beside her car on I-96 that afternoon. She was reportedly talking to a man driving a maroon-colored minivan or station wagon. One truck driver recalled seeing the two in conversation, noting that Paige didn't appear frightened or distressed. Another driver thought he saw her gesturing as if explaining something. Investigators pieced together that this encounter likely took place between 2:30 p.m. and 3 p.m. Unfortunately, those brief moments were the last time anyone ever saw her alive. A composite sketch of the man and vehicle was later created, but without a license plate or more distinct features, it led to little progress. Police circulated the sketch across Michigan and neighboring states, but no suspect was ever identified. The search, hope meets frustration. In the days following her disappearance, the search for Paige was massive. Law enforcement officers, volunteers, helicopters, and K-9 units scoured the fields, woods, and waterways near Fowlerville. Search dogs tracked her scent briefly before losing it near the highway, suggesting she may have been forced into another vehicle and driven away. Helicopters scanned nearby ponds and wooded areas. Detectives set up roadblocks to interview drivers who regularly used that stretch of I-96. Still, nothing surfaced. It was as if the earth had swallowed her whole. Interviews and red herrings. Investigators interviewed Paige's family, friends, and co-workers extensively. They found no evidence of conflict, jealousy, or hidden relationships that might explain her disappearance. She wasn't dating anyone at the time, and there were no enemies or disputes in her life. Dozens of tips came in after media coverage spread statewide. Some claimed to have seen Paige in nearby towns. Others offered names of suspicious men. Detectives chased every lead, from known predators to random sightings, but each one ended the same way: dead ends. At one point, police explored the possibility of serial offenders operating in the area, including long-haul truckers and men with histories of abduction. But no definitive link to Paige was ever proven. Theories: what might have happened to Paige? Over the years, investigators have floated several theories. The Good Samaritan gone wrong theory. Paige may have pulled over for car trouble or another reason, and a man pretending to help her could have taken advantage of the situation. This theory aligns with the witness accounts of her speaking with a man near her car. The familiar face theory. Detectives also considered that Paige might have recognized the person and voluntarily stopped to talk. Her calm demeanor, as described by witnesses, suggested she didn't initially feel threatened. The opportunistic abduction theory. Some believe Paige could have been targeted randomly by a passing predator, someone experienced in quickly overpowering a victim. The known suspect theory. Over time, certain individuals came under suspicion. Men with criminal pasts, those with connections to the area, and even persons of interest tied to similar disappearances. Yet, each was either cleared or lacked sufficient evidence for charges. Dead ends and lingering questions. Despite decades of work, no remains have ever been found, and no arrests have been made. Several key suspects were investigated but released due to lack of proof. Over the years, false confessions and misleading tips only deepened the frustration of Paige's family and investigators. In the 2000s and again in 2011, detectives reopened the case, this time using advanced DNA testing and ground-penetrating radar to search rural properties in Livingston County. Unfortunately, these efforts turned up no new evidence. Each new lead rekindled hope, only for it to fade again. Even today, detectives still receive occasional tips. Some believe Paige's remains are hidden in a remote location, while others suspect someone in the community still holds the truth but remains silent out of fear or guilt. For the investigators who have worked on this case, Paige Renkoski's disappearance remains deeply personal. Many have retired, yet they continue to speak of her name with sadness and determination. Somewhere, one detective once said, "Someone knows what happened to her. Someone saw something that day. We just need them to come forward." Conclusion: note justice. The aftermath of Paige Renkoski's disappearance. More than 3 decades have passed since May 24th, 1990, and yet, the mystery of Paige Marie Renkoski still lingers like an open wound in Michigan's history, a haunting reminder of how fragile justice can be when the truth stays buried. For Paige's family, the pain of not knowing has been far worse than any single tragedy. Her mother, Artis Renkoski, became a symbol of strength and endurance, refusing to let her daughter's memory fade into silence. She spent years working with law enforcement, organizing search efforts, and speaking publicly to keep Paige's name alive. Even as hope dimmed, Artis carried a message that resonated deeply. "Someone out there knows what happened to my daughter." Artis passed away in 2022 without ever learning the truth, a heartbreak that no family should endure. To this day, Paige's relatives and friends continue to live with a kind of grief that has no closure. They never got to hold a funeral, never got to say goodbye, never got the peace that comes from knowing. Every anniversary, every birthday, every holiday is a painful reminder of a life that was stolen and the answers that never came. The human cost of unsolved justice. When justice is denied or delayed indefinitely, the damage ripples far beyond the victim's immediate family. The community, too, suffers. For many in Livingston County and across Michigan, the name Paige Renkoski became synonymous with fear and frustration. How could someone disappear in broad daylight, in a populated area, and simply never be found? Detectives who work the case have admitted it's one that never leaves you. It's the kind of mystery that keeps them up at night, wondering if there's something they missed, some clue hidden in plain sight. For them, it's not just a case. It's a broken promise to find justice, to deliver answers, and to give peace to a grieving family. Possible paths toward closure. Even after 35 years, all hope is not lost. The evolution of modern investigative tools, especially forensic genealogy, advanced DNA recovery, and AI-based case reconstruction, has given new life to many old cases once thought unsolvable. Detectives believe that if Paige's remains are ever found, or if new DNA evidence emerges from previously collected items, there's still a real chance to identify her killer. Advances in familial DNA tracing could connect unknown samples to relatives of a possible suspect, a method that has solved dozens of decades-old cases across the United States. Community involvement remains critical. Someone, somewhere, still holds a piece of the truth, a memory, a conversation, a sighting that may have seemed unimportant at the time but could now unlock the mystery. A message to viewers and to justice itself. As we close this story, remember this. Paige Renkoski was more than just a missing person. She was a living, breathing human being, a daughter, a friend, a soul whose life was stolen. The real tragedy is not just her disappearance, but how easily time can make the world forget. If we stop asking questions, the silence wins. If we stop remembering, justice fades. So if you've been moved by Paige's story, do something powerful right now. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share her name. Every click, every share, every conversation helps keep these cold cases alive. And if for any reason you choose not to subscribe, tell us why in the comments. Your voice still matters, because this channel isn't just about mystery. It's about accountability. It's about making sure no one's story ends in silence. Justice might be delayed, but with enough eyes, enough voices, and enough persistence, the truth about Paige Marie Renkoski can still come to light. Until that day, we will keep her story alive, because Paige deserves answers, and her family deserves peace.